everybody, and welcome back to the 1902 Farmhouse project. Today is December the 11th, and we're going to start on the tile floor in the spare bathroom. And one thing I had to do was clean this plywood I put down, because I didn't realize at the time that tile has to have a perfectly clean place to adhere to. So if you've got, if you go ahead and put your subfloor down, which this is kind of a 1/2 inch plywood on top of the subfloor, but I'm going to put the tile on top of that because you have to have a certain thickness to set tile. And so I had that down there, and of course I've got thin set and drywall compound and all that stuff on it. So I took some 80 grit sandpaper and cleaned it up, and I'll show you what that looks like. I went all the way to the door, so the tile will actually come all the way on the door and stop right there, and then I'll be another piece of plywood in the hall for a wood floor. Cleaned out the tub. Had a bunch of stuff around there, but all that's cleaned out. I just got to I'm gonna mark out for my toilet flange, and we're gonna get it cut out, and then I'm gonna vacuum everything real well. And I got this little niche here got to cut out, but I'm gonna use that decoupling membrane. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so here's this. It's called Ditra Mat. This basically goes down. You got a layer of thin set, and then this, and another layer of thin set, and then you tile. You do have to use a special thin set with this Ditra Mat. You can get a special one through Sluter, or you can just buy this. This is from Mapai, uncoupling membrane mortar. You can't just use regular thin set, modified or whatever, because it don't have air to cure with. So it takes a special one, or it won't set up right. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut my toilet flange, vacuum it. We're gonna get this in here. I hope this is plenty long enough. This is just it's a 3 foot 3 inch by 16 foot. So I'm gonna probably have yeah, that'd be plenty long. That's a standard size bath. I think it's not a 5 by 8, but it's like a 5 by 9 or something like that. So we'll end up taking 2 of these, ripping one down, and all that. So we'll get that done, and we'll get it ready to go. And like I said, I'm not a professional. I've only seen this on YouTube videos. So if I can do it, you can do it. Alright, so I run into a little issue with my rough end. Alright, so on toilets, they have to be 18 inches from center of the bowl to any object. So 18 inches from here, or from your vanity. I think I've got a 24 inch vanity, so 18 inches would be plenty. And then normal toilets are 12 inches center from the finished wall on your rough end. Unfortunately, I've got a beam that runs right there. This thing literally went right beside it. So I can also do a 10 inch. So I just back up 2 inches and saw my hole, and I can get an offset flange. I'll still use the hole. I'll have to carve out a little bit of that floor joist, but then I can offset. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back up to a 10 inch rough end. Basically the same price. The only difference is I was saving the toilet, so it would have saved me 200 bucks. And I've already bought my flanges, so that's another, whatever a new offset flange would be. But I mean, you got to do it, right? So I'm going to back up 2 inches. I'm going to cut me a circle. And I think those are 3 inch offset flanges. So I don't think I think I actually gonna have to go get a flange so I know how big the hole to cut. And then I'll come back and I'll show you what I got. Alright everybody, I finally got this hole cut. I had a lot of trouble. When you're using a hole saw with a very powerful drill, the drill won't tend to turn with you. If that hole saw stops, the drill will turn. And I actually cut my cord twice on my Makita drill. with this thing. And the problem with the Makita is it's got a button on the handle that you can press down, and you can see it against the wall where that cord whipped it. But there's a button you can press down on the handle on the grip that will keep it running. You really don't want that when you're drilling with a hole saw. You want it to be able to stop as soon as you let off the trigger, because if it keeps running, it'll, you know, when you have to turn loose of it, it wraps itself up and then it breaks the cord. So it's twice it broke my cord, but I did get it done. So here's what I went and got: an offset toilet flange. This is a 3-inch, but it'll fit inside a 4-inch drain, which is what I'm using. A 3-inch pipe will fit inside of this, or this will fit inside of a 4-inch. So we can see the joist is right there. So with this, it's actually it's gonna set away, but I am gonna have to carve out a little bit right here in the front for this throat. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna grab me another regular one. Let's see if a regular one will fit. And if that'll fit, then we'll just use it. Alright, so here's a regular style. I always recommend getting the one with a metal flange on it, because those plastic ones can break real easy right in here if you over tighten. Now that'll fit, but a 4-inch pipe has got to go around the outside of it, and that would be, I think, would be a little bit tight. Right here is the edge of, I'm right even with the edge of the joist, so I don't think I could get a 4-inch pipe all the way around this. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this one, and I'm gonna have to cut out this throat a little bit. And I used a 4.5-inch hole saw, which was probably a lot bigger than I needed. It'll still work, as you can see. I just need to cut that throat out where it'll fit down in there. And of course, with the tile being under it, it might not be so bad with it fitting, because it's going to be raised up, but not that much. That's about an inch, inch and a half in the front. So I'm going to take my sawzall and just bevel out a little edge around that joist. And I don't know if I'm going to get around this floor today or not. We'll see. Like I said, I got to fix my damn drill again so I can mix up some thin set. Alright, step 2 is, once you got the floor clean, get your hole cut, get your Ditra Mat laid in there. Now this piece here, I didn't have to do anything but cut that hole out. I cut it to length. On this one I measured out everything, but then I cut it a little bit small and put it in here, and I could tell exactly where I needed to trim it. And I did get a little bit off that wall. I don't think that's a big deal actually. I think this right here can come in a little bit right here. You don't have to, I don't think you have to touch the walls. And that ain't nothing right there anyway. That's just going to be an empty spot, maybe a storage area. This is going to have shelves in it, so main thing. I will need to go back and trim the edge of this. I forgot to go back and trim that. You can see where I marked right there. But when I measured over this way, I was a 1/4 inch short from where I started up here at the top, cutting all this out. So I just went back and knocked off about another little notch here to make sure I had enough. I think that'll work. So once we get done with that, I'll trim that little edge. We're going to be ready for some thin set. Alright, so I got about a half a bucket of thin set mixed up, and now what I used instead of water, I used this polymer additive. It says on the bag that this stuff, you can add this polymer to it. I guess it's going to strengthen it. So, I figure, why not just go ahead and spend a little extra money and maybe have a mortar bed that lasts longer. I don't know. I mean, you can just use water. That's fine. I mix it good. I'm letting it slake for 5 minutes. I'll mix it good again, and then what I'll do is pull this half this back, dump it out, spread it, push it in, pull this back, dump it out, spread it, push it in, and I'm gonna take my magnesium float right there and press down good. And today I'm just going to get this in. I'll let it harden overnight, you know, get all this in, and then it's supposed to rain tomorrow, but Sunday I'll try to get the tile set, so hopefully it'll all work out. Alright everybody, this is the end of day one. If that hole ain't messed me up so bad, I would probably got the tiles laid today, but it's after 3. It's Friday evening. It's beer 30. And I almost had enough on that half a bucket. I run out about right here. I made another batch. One thing I will say that I messed up is I should have pre-wetted, pre-dampened this plywood. This mortar mix was pretty dry. All right. Now with using the polymer, I'm not sure if it will soak up as much as water will. That stuff is pretty hard to get off your hands. The second batch I made was a lot wetter and it spread more better, and of course there's just this little area right here. I made way too much, but that's usually the way it goes. So I think I'm about 1/3 of the way done, really. Tomorrow or Sunday, I'll get in here, I'll dry. I'll lay out some tiles dry to see where I need to put them, which direction I want to go with them. I'm thinking probably go this way, but I'm not sure. It could go that way or whatever. And I've got that tile cutter that works pretty well with big tiles, but around here I'll probably have to use my wet saw with my nippers and clean that tile up, and then I'll get a masonry bit when I get ready to put this toilet flange down, and we'll go straight through the tile, through the subfloor. That's about it. So I'll bring you back when we get some more. You ready to do the rest of it? All right, another thing I wanted to point out with this mortar mix, I'm using this uncoupling membrane mortar. It's a thin set, medium set mortar. It's for a large and heavy tile and thin set mortar. I'm using a large format tile. I think that's like a 6 by 24, maybe 8 by 24. I ain't really sure. I guess I could look on the package. It is 8 by 24. Okay. So anything over 15 inches is considered large format. And the reason I'm using the polymer additive instead of water is because I'm installing this over plywood, and it says right here on the bag, gray check mark indicates usage available when mixed with polymer additive, and one thing is gray is used over plywood. You have to use the polymer for plywood wallboard or cement backer board for this stuff. So by using that polymer additive, it's, you know, instead of water, even though I didn't pre-moisten the plywood, I should have. I don't think it really matters because that polymer ain't going to soak in like water would have. I did miss a little spot right here, so when I get ready to start setting my tile, I'm just going to stick a little spot of mortar thin set on that corner right there. And we are ready to get started. So the first thing I did was I went ahead and laid out my tile. I can see that I went ahead and I used the spacers I'm going to be using. And now these spacers against the wall, I'm not going to use those. I'm actually going to use these shims. I want that tile 1/4 inch off the wall, 1/4 inch off the tub. Anything, you gotta leave room for expansion. So looking at this, I've got slightly less than a half a tile on each end here. But coming out towards the door, I notice I like about an inch. Now I could put this down just like this and just cover that with my transition piece going from, this will be vinyl plank flooring out here in the hall. But I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure back from the edge to here, and I'm going to take that much off of this first 3 tiles right here, and that'll slide everything back even with the wall, and then I can cut another piece to go right on the door, and that'll fill that whole gap. I'm not sure about up in here. I ain't too worried if it's as long as they ain't too big, a thin sliver, and my daggum camera's gonna fog up again. But anyway, you want to lay your tiles out dry and get a figure for how you want to put them in. So I think by doing it that way, I won't have to notch out any around the door. That'll be good. Throw some mud down. Start tiling. These initial tiles should not be interfering with our toilet hole. The next ones is where we'll have to fool with them. So I'm using a 3/8. I'm using a 1/4 inch by 3/8 by 1/4 square notch. You can get by with a 1/4 by 1/4 by 1/4. The bag of mortars don't go as far with this as with a smaller notch. But like I said, I ain't no professional. One thing I said I was going to do, let me get over here and get me a little bit on the corner right here. Should take and push this mortar into these squares before you try to notch it, because you want to fill these squares all the way up for them to work properly. They need to be locked in. And we're going to stay a 1/4 inch off the wall, so it really don't matter if I don't get right on the wall, but I'm going to try to get up right to it. Now, the notch here. Now we're going to start with a short one and 2 long ones. So what I'm going to do is I got this edge here cut. We're going to take a 1/4 inch shim, put on the wall. Oh, I always like to back butter my tiles. It's not as easy to do with this big trowel. It just gives you better adhesion, I feel. A little bit of a mess, but it'll be alright. Cut in towards the floor. So I'm going to put these here, one on the back side course, you have to hurry up and get these in really the best as fast as you can. These are the self-leveling pieces. All right, 5 hours later, wished I could say I got it all in, but I didn't. I like this little bit right here. But I can't get back there without getting on the tiles, and I didn't want to get on the tiles until they set. So I'm just going to leave that. That's a little sliver there. And maybe it's probably going to be a little longer than one piece. Maybe it's a little piece and then a piece, sliver. It worked out well with laying it out and cutting that off because I was right here at the door, really close, really. I could have cut another eighth off and been fine, and then I just kept this line here, and it wasn't enough to use one piece. I had to use two pieces, so I just went ahead and kept that line, and then I just let that in dead end. So I think it looks pretty good. That was a lot of work. I was thinking about 2 to 3 hours. That's a lot of work. I ended up making three total batches of thin set. That first batch I made that got too dry, I messed up. So when you make thin set, always have water or some liquid in your bucket before you dump your dried mixture over there, because if you dump dry and then pour water on it, it don't mix well in the bottom. So I had a whole lot of unmixed. Even using this mixer right here, it still didn't get all the way down. So I didn't know it until I got a little low and I started digging it in, and it was getting hard. So I dumped it, made some fresh. Didn't make enough, had to make a little more, and I think I would have had enough to do it all if I could have got to it. But it was just been pushing it. So yep, so I'm going to leave this for a couple of days. I'm going to let it set up. I'm going to have to come back and clean out the grout lines with my little, this little tool right here, and give it a good bath. All right, everybody, today is grout day. It's been a long time coming. Went ahead and mixed my grout up, and I've already mixed it. I'm letting it slake. On this particular grout, it takes 2 quarts of water for 125 pound bag of grout. It's probably going to weigh more grout than I need. Then you mix it up 3 to 5 minutes, and then you let it set for 5 minutes, and then you mix it up again for a minute or 2, and you're ready to apply it. So my clock's fixing to go off. I got 6 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. Yeah, I was listening to Waylon Jennings. All right, so there's the 5 minute slate. Now I'll set you up. We'll go ahead and get the 1 to 2 minute final mixing, probably close to a minute, and then we'll be ready to apply it. Alright, so it's been a little over a minute. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take my mixer off and wash it right quick before it sets, because you don't want this stuff to set up, and I don't have a deep bucket of water to put in, so we'll do that right quick and I'll bring you back. Okay, I'm going to start on the far end, and I'll probably end up having to wipe somewhere. I'm going to make a little bit of a mess just getting to that. This floor is pretty filthy. I'm going to start on my knees right there. You're going to get my, you need your a grout float. Here's mine. It's just an old one. It's a molded rubber grout float. You can get a silicone now. It's probably a little better. And some kind of bucket scoop. I'll show you what kind of grout I use. Now this is the grout I'm using. It's a Cara Color S sanded grout. This is the silver argent color. It's kind of a gray, as close as the gray as I could get. And if you read the instructions, always read your instructions. This pretty much will tell you. I mean, look, that thing will fit up to 5/8 joints. So sanded grout is good for wide joints. But always read your instructions, and this one's got pictograms here because yours may not be the same. So it tells you to wipe it down. Mix 2 quarts of water to a 25 pound bag. You're going to put your water in first and then put your grout in. Mix it 3 to 5 minutes, let it sit for 5 minutes, mix it for 1 to 2 minutes, and it's ready to apply. It's pretty easy. This is a maypie, but other kinds may be a little different, so be sure you read what yours is. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna tote this bucket in here, and I'm just gonna throw me out some plops. That's gonna sit right there. Start with that. I don't want that bucket in there. Alright, let me see, I already got a mess right there. Just where I stepped. I did vacuum and wipe this down good. So now we just want to force this grout into all our little holes here. I'm going to force it right on this tub. Make sure you get all your air out. What'll happen is it'll bubble. Alright, let's go wash everything out good, and we'll let this sit for not until it starts glazing over, and then we'll go to cleaning on it. It needs to get kind of dry on top, hazy. Don't let it sit there too long though. Alright, so I've already went ahead and did one pass with the sponge, got most of it off, and I'm going to go back over it now lightly with a clean sponge and polish it with just a bath towel, an old bath towel, a good terry cloth, or whatever you have. Of course, I can't keep from getting dirt on the floor, but what I did is I worked my way in, and now I'm going to work my way back. And then once we get out of there, we're going to need to stay off of it at least a day. So it did take about an hour before it started getting dry enough to sponge off. Now it's a little cooler in this house than it might be in yours. This house typically now is running about 52 to 55 degrees. I have the door open, it's 70 outside, so I was hoping that would cool it, warm it up enough to dry it out, but it did take twice as long as that said it would. So just have to keep an eye on that. I'm going to get in here, and I'm just using a clean sponge, damp, just barely as little as water as possible. You don't want to wash out your grout. You just want to kind of smooth it over and clean off the tiles and then polish the tiles. So this is what it looks like before, and I'll show you what it looks like after. Everybody, final shot. This looks really good. I like this grout. Like I said, this grout kind of blends the tiles together, and it don't stand out like a tile normally does. So we're gonna let this sit overnight and probably a few days and let it dry and cure, and then we'll get our toilet flange installed. We'll get the rest of this shower done. I want to get it finished up. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you didn't, give me a big thumbs down. Please rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't.